So the impulse buy flowers were looking a little droopy from the heat, and so I gave them a good water and they perked right back up straight. This one's pretty much done. It's going to be dropping more petals and dying on me, but I think those might be a couple new stalks. I don't know if you can see it. Looks like there's a couple new stalks and flowers maybe starting. So hopefully I'll get a few more buds on them before they die off on me, because these really aren't going to be perennials in this growing zone. But I'll enjoy them as long as I can. This one's especially gorgeous. Normally I don't try to video in the brightest part of the day, but it's super hot outside and I'm going to try to get some electrolyte into the goats, just to make sure they're staying as hydrated as I can keep them with the heat index the way it is right now. But also to kind of share a few things that happened the last couple days while I do that. What I use for an electrolyte, here we go, make sure that's lined up to where you can see it, here we go, is just an electrolyte that I get from the store. It's a multi-species, so it works out pretty well. Some of the goats really love it. Some of them won't touch it with a 10-foot pole no matter how thirsty they are, so I give it to who I can get it into and call it good from there. But I just empty it into one of those buckets. It's really hard to see when it's bright out, so I'm sorry if my camera works especially sketchy today. But we'll go ahead and get that into them and see if we can get them a little bit more comfortable in this heat. And I'll share a story with you from there. Actually a powder that turns blue when you hydrate it, so that you know it's mixed properly. It should be like a light blue color, and then you know that the mix is the right consistency. Yesterday we had a pretty hot day as well, and we were doing what we could to keep them comfortable and hydrated. We had gotten them some electrolyte as well yesterday, and I noticed when I came out to the baby buck pen that one of the baby bucklings wasn't looking very bright, and sometimes they just kind of deflate in the heat, so I kind of chalked it up to that. But when we went to put them in last night, we waited as long as we could to keep them out of the heat as long as possible in their house. We wanted them to be out in the open air as long as we could. We noticed that he really, really was very droopy, and we checked his eyelids for his Promacha score, which is a goat thing where it kind of tells you whether you potentially have a parasite load or things like that. If it's very, very pale, they're anemic. If it's nice bright pink, then they're doing pretty well on that score. But he was almost white, so he was severely anemic. And so we knew that he was in trouble, and we tried to give him an iron supplement called Red Cell. We talked to our vet, and they advised to try to worm him as well in case there was something going on there. And they said if he was really that severely anemic, since they couldn't see it for themselves at the time, that there was probably only so much we could do. And so we did what we could for him for the overnight, and then around 8:30 this morning he ended up passing away. We think that it was potentially what is called an abomasal ulcer. One of the compartments of a ruminant's, or at least a goat ruminant's, for stomachs is called the abomasum. I'd have to look into the other ruminants to see if the names of the stomachs are the same. But on a goat, the abomasum is one of the compartments of their stomach, and they can develop ulcers, and if that ulcer bursts, they bleed internally. And this is not the first time we've dealt with an abomasal ulcer. One of our first losses on the farm, actually our first goat kid loss on the farm, was a 6-week-old buckling that our first kidding year that we lost to that unexpectedly. They didn't do a necropsy on him to determine what it was, but they kind of were able to rule out a bunch of other things because they had come out to the farm that night to check on him. And so it was pretty much textbook the same situation that we found him in and that he went through. So we had to go ahead and get him buried quickly in this heat this morning. And so it was one of those farm tragedies that happens. We have gotten to the point where we are rather used to them and accept them as philosophically as possible. We know it's going to happen to lose an animal here and there. We do the best we can to catch things early on. We're pretty involved and we're pretty hands-on and keep our eyes on them a lot, but he was doing fine a few days ago, and so there was really no indicator that there was something amiss with him. Nothing that was obvious enough for us to catch. So we ended up getting him dealt with today. And so it was Burt, which was, if I can, I'll try to find a picture of him that was taken, or see if I can put a little video clip in here of him so you guys know which one it was, what he looked like. But he was one of the triplets that we affectionately named the Troll Boys, after the trolls and the Hobbit that tried to eat Bilbo and the dwarves. So it was Burt, Tom, and Bill. And so we lost little Burt. And so we're doing the best we can to check the rest. Their eyes, their Famacher score underneath their eyes is good and pink. And the rest of them, by all indicators that we know to check for, seem as healthy and as vibrant as they could be. And so we're kind of chalking it up to one of those statistical, these things happen, occurrences, sad as it is. It's something that we've had to face fairly regularly, as far as we've lost a kid a year. And statistically that is not uncommon, and sometimes it's more common to lose more. So we've been very blessed that way. But I just wanted to keep you guys apprised of the goat tragedy dramas that unfold, as well as the joys and comedies. So we'll see what else happens this week and what else we can keep you apprised of. But for now, that's kind of what's been going on, and it is a moment of sadness. But this life is far outweighed with the joys than the sadnesses. So thanks for hanging out for the moment, and we'll see what else we can scrounge together for you that is different this week.